Hello, Ray here. Camera comparison time again. As we all know, Sony's latest and greatest flagship smartphone, the Xperia XZ3, is out for a while. It does comes with a truly gorgeous Bravia OLED display, with an extraordinary classy design in Bordeaux red. Unfortunately, Sony's decided to keep their new, one-of-a-kind, ultimate dual-camera setup exclusive to the XZ2 Premium. That's it, lacking the new camera ISP aka OP, and sharing the exact same camera optics as the XZ2. Can it actually compete with other mainstream flagships in 2018? In today's case, the holy grail iPhone XS Max. Well yes, we are talking two camera lenses to one camera lens on the XZ3, but in today's video we'll be comparing only the main camera performance, so everything will be fair. So we'll be looking at daytime and low-light capabilities for both photos and videos capturing. Which does a better job? We're here to give you the answer. So let's kick off the comparison with daylight photos. 90% of the time, the XZ3 can actually deliver comparable dynamic range to the iPhone XS Max. More on that in a bit. Generally speaking, the iPhone XS Max takes flatter, more balanced photos with next to none artifacts. The XZ3, on the contrary, takes sharper, more vivid and saturated photos. Contrast is also a bit higher on the XZ3. The shadows ever so slightly more well exposed on the iPhone. On the other hand, contrast, color saturation and sharpness a bit high on the XZ3. Those flatter images taken by the iPhone XS Max may look a little bit more natural to some people, but certainly more people would enjoy looking at the image taken by the XZ3 more than looking at those flatter, technically more natural photos taken by the iPhone XS Max. The extra sharpness and color saturation on the XZ3 do make it stand out in my opinion. In terms of dynamic range and details, however, the two devices here performed really close. Alright, I said 90% of the time earlier on that the XZ3 can capture comparable dynamic range to the iPhone XS Max. When it comes to scenes like this, that I point the camera directly to the sun on a pretty sunny day, I've never seen any phone that can capture dynamic range that's even close to the iPhone XS Max. Still, I actually prefer the colors on the XZ3. Everything on the iPhone's image look a bit washed out. It seems like the iPhone's trying to pull up the shadows a bit too hard. Still, I'd say you don't need any photography skill to take good pictures on the iPhone. While on the XZ3, you may need to adjust the exposure or something like that when it comes to seriously challenging scenes. So 90% of the time they capture a similar dynamic range, while everything looks a bit sharper, more contrasty and more saturated, vivid on the XZ3. The iPhone, as plain, flat and natural as you can think of. Move on to indoor and low-light photography. The difference in their interpretation of colors and contrast is huge. Still the same old formula here. The XZ3 boosted color saturation and contrast to make sure everything looks sharp and vivid. It does look even more vibrant than in reality on the XZ3. Colors a bit oversaturated, while low-light's not as well exposed as that on the iPhone XS Max. Still again, the added color saturation, contrast and sharpness on the XZ3 make all those images way livelier than those taken on the iPhone. When it comes to indoor, food photography, or even night scenes, higher contrast and color saturation will always give images that are more pleasing to the eyes. So long story short, the XZ3 actually takes images that are more DSLR-like. In my opinion, those added saturation and contrast make night scenes night scenes. The iPhone may take more natural photos to some people, but that's just emotionless to me. Again, at night, 90% of the time the XZ3 can capture comparable dynamic range to the iPhone XS Max. So that said, that 10% still there. Every time when I point the camera to those neon lights, the iPhone just can't stop surprising me with those perfect detail on the highlights. The iPhone's still the king in dynamic range, both in daytime and nighttime. The XZ3 kept up really well most of the time, with sharper colors and higher contrast, more DSLR-like. Selfies alert. Yep, in the following couple of minutes I'll be showing you guys a couple of sets of comparison photos of selfies. Interesting enough, Smart HDR's even working on the iPhone XS Max. I mean for selfie portrait. The background, my jacket and scarf, even the hair is definitely more well exposed. The sunset just looked absolutely amazing on the iPhone's image, ever so slightly overexposed on the XZ3's image. The XZ3 however captures a much wider field of view. It also puts my face relatively further away. I do prefer the wider field of view on the XZ3 than the iPhone, but the iPhone does capture a wider dynamic range. Bokeh effect, both are the top dogs, not much of a difference here. Okay, last but not least, video capturing comparison. The XZ3 does capture 4K HDR videos, however to completely utilize the 5-axis electronic stabilization steady shot, you will have to reduce the resolution to 1080p. Don't get me wrong, 4K videos on the XZ3 is actually really smooth. Just not silky smooth, which I've been expecting from a Sony phone. Once I've switched back to 1080p however, everything's silky smooth. It's like I'm handling the phone with a gimbal, but actually not. The iPhone on the other hand, it just stabilizes 4K videos completely fine. It even captures a wider dynamic range, much wider. Still, comparing 4K footage shot on the iPhone XS Max to the 1080p ones shot on the XZ3, the XZ3's footage is still a tiny bit smoother. In terms of clarity however, 4K's 4K and 1080p's 1080p, with better 4K stabilization and wider dynamic range. I have to give the crown to the iPhone when it comes to video recording. So all in all, the iPhone XS Max captures unparalleled dynamic range in all situations. It also gives balanced, untouched and really flat images during daytime and even at night. The XZ3 tends to sharpen the images a bit. With higher contrast and color saturation, everything looks crisp and clear. For social media, I'd say the XZ3 captures some really engaging photos. The iPhone, on the contrary, that dynamic range again. Not just in auto mode, but even for videos and portrait mode as well. So which one do you prefer? Comment below. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here on the left for you guys to watch next. See you next time.